final quarter begins right now.
Well, thanks for being with us on the final quarter on CBS 8+. That is John Howard and Karthik Venkatraman. I am Jake Garriani. The San Diego Padres just finished a series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, a series in which they lost 2-1. I used the words on CBS 8 the other day when I was down there to describe the series as disappointing, guys, because I thought there was a lot of meat left on the bones during that. What was your thoughts about the Dodgers-Padres?
Yeah, you sound like a buddy of mine when I leave a putt 3 feet short, and he says, you left some meat on that bone. And I think it's a good way to put it. They had their opportunities to score runs, and they had their opportunities to win 2 of those 3 games, possibly all 3 games. But you know, not to be cliche, the season is a marathon, not much to worry about. And as we'll mention in just a moment here, we got 4 games coming up against the Dodgers next week.
Yeah, disappointing is pretty much how I would describe it, too. I think maybe a little concerning for me as well. One of the things that I've kind of been keeping an eye on as the season's been going on is the San Diego Padres versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, throwing the Giants up there. Obviously, they've been playing well at the top of the division of the NL West. And my whole thing has been, if the Padres can't catch the Dodgers right now with how many injuries, especially they have to their pitching rotation, I know the Padres have their own as well. They've gotten a lot of good production out of theirs, though, so I'm not really trying to make many excuses for the Padres. They can't catch him now. How are they going to catch him when the Dodgers get the full strength, or if they're able to get to that full capacity? And what many people expected them to be, one of the best records in MLB history, if not the best record in MLB history, I still think they have that potential to get. What is the Padres' potential? How close will they get to that top of that ceiling? What kind of effort will they get from the guys from the rest of the year? It's a good baseball team. Are they going to be good enough to compete with the Dodgers for the rest of the season? In a home series of 3 games, they probably should have won that first one. The second one, they did win very handily. That's the kind of performance that we like to see from the Padres. And then that third game, it was tied at 1-1 for a while before a couple of home runs ended up changing the course of the game. How well can the Padres stay with the Dodgers for this series? You get only 1 out of the 3 at home. Next week, you got to go 4 games at L.A. Even if you split those 2, you've made no grounds over the first 7 games of the series with the Dodgers. So if the Padres are able to go get 3 out of 4 in L.A., great. But right now, I don't know. Disappointing kind of seems right, because disappointing is kind of the way it seems to go against the Dodgers with the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, you mentioned that first game. I think you go extra innings at home, you got to win that one. There was a couple unlucky things. The bat was taken out of Manny Machado's hand. There was a ball that bounced off second base. The thing with yesterday that was frustrating, or yesterday as we record, the final game of that series, the Wednesday game, was that the Padres had the bases loaded multiple times. In 3 times, they had Luis Rise up, Fernando Tatis up, and Manny Machado up. They got 0 runs out of those situations. And the other thing that I found very frustrating was that game was so set up for the Padres to dominate in a sense of pitching. You had everything you wanted, because Dylan Cease, which if you want to take a good positive away from this series, was Dylan Cease finally found his form in that middle game. But because of what Dylan Cease did in Game 2, the Padres had every bullet to fire in their chamber in Game 3. They went to it by bringing in Morihone, who pitched really well, and then Estrada, and things kind of fell apart there. And you had the off day. I mean, everything was in their lap to really go after this game, and unfortunately, people just didn't perform. So that's where I get the meat left on the bone situation. Now, after the game, I was in the clubhouse, and we talked with Jeremiah Estrada, who was, let's be honest, just straight up honest.
We got a bunch of warriors in here who still out there doing what we can do. You know, the game's not easy. You know, if it was easy, then everybody would do it. And all the people out there talking smack on social media, saying what they want, I mean, you're sitting there on your couch watching. You know, I mean, it's hard what we do. But it's part of the game. You know, it sucks to have this feeling, you know, especially with cameras in my face after what just happened today. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, I leave it all in God's hands at the end of the day. Stuff, you know, I've also had some personal stuff outside of the field that's been happening in the past couple of days. You know, after the first game, my uncle got in a car crash on the way back home after watching the game. You know, so there's some things that some people don't know that some people go through. Move on, and every good thing, you know, God is great, and, you know, nothing crazy happened other than just injuries. But family's safe. You know, I feel happy that that's going on. But other than that, yeah, just shit happens.
I think there's two really key things to take away from this. One, that people forget that these ball players are people, right? I mean, I think it's great when you get somebody that is that honest, because it humanizes the situation where a lot of guys will put up that wall between them and the media, and that's fine. That's what they want to do. That's fine. But I like when people are honest, because you get the peep into the fact that these dudes are just real people, and they go through real things like a lot of us do. And then the second part of this is, I can always respect a guy who's willing to own it and just say, look, didn't have it today. That one's on me. I'm going to go get it next time. Now, I cleaned that up a bunch, but that's essentially what he said. So I think those were my two takeaways from talking to Jeremiah yesterday.
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I think that's some of the best sound we've seen out of the Padres locker room in a long time. Jeremiah Estrada is kind of growing up in front of our eyes in that soundbite of what it is to become and be a Major League Baseball player. You have to go out and perform, even though maybe your uncle was just in a crash the night before. You have to go out and do that, even though you know you're going to face the media after a poor performance. What I totally respect about him, as Jake just mentioned, his honesty and his transparency. And it takes me back to the days when Trevor Hoffman was on the team. It didn't matter how bad or good Trevor did. He always stood out and met the media afterwards. There have been many players, they have a bad day, they'll go hide in the lounge during media access time. And I absolutely love what Jeremiah Estrada said. And, you know, the sport, the game, the team would be all the more entertaining if there were that many more honest sound bites from the players.
Yeah, I'm completely with you both. I mean, anyone who's willing to go out and just blast somebody on a personal level simply because they didn't pitch well in one game, I mean, you're lame, and that's pretty stupid. If I'm just being frank about it, there's just no place for that to take personal shots at anybody. Mike Schilt, you know, when the Padres were on a bad stretch earlier this season, I asked him, because he kept bringing up that grace was so important with teams and why you should give grace. And it's because, you know, things like this happen. They're only humans. But Mike Schilt also said in that soundbite, and, you know, resonated very clearly, this team ultimately at the end of the day will be judged by their performance on the field and how they do. That is their job. That is profession. That is the standard in which they have to try and uphold. It is quite a fine balance. Never for taking just absolute shots at somebody because they didn't pitch well in a game. Obviously, losses are going to happen. That's part of the game of baseball. But the Padres at the same time have a responsibility of uphold, of trying to win as many games as they can. This is a team that's talked about winning championships all year long. You want to make statements in the regular season, especially when it's against your rivals like the Dodgers. And, well, that was an opportunity for a statement, and they came up short. They have to own it. They will, I'm sure, and move on from here, and they're going to have to play better.
And the thing, like, we all, anyone that's in a public spotlight of any capacity has been attacked on social media. That's nothing new. Social media isn't a real place. We all know that. It doesn't mean it doesn't weigh on these guys, right? And Jeremiah Estrada has been brilliant all season long. He had one bad outing, and it doesn't take fans quick to forget, you know, when stuff like that happens. You take a look at the standings here. The Dodgers right there at the top, 41-28. Giants right behind them by just half a game. Padres still right in the middle of all of it, despite how everyone seems to feel. And then the Diamondbacks kind of treading water, and the Rockies, I guess, are a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, if I can add one last thing, Jake, to branch up of Karthik saying he was a little concerned over the series with the Dodgers. My big concern in support of that comment, the only game the Padres won was the middle game. That was a bullpen game for LA, and they all but conceded that game. I mean, they throw a bullpen guy in there in the second inning and have him throw 110 pitches, and he gave up whatever, 9 runs on 13 hits, whatever it was. The Dodgers did not care about winning that second game, yet that was the only game the Padres won. So that is definite concern.
I would push back on that, though, in a sense.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying in that they left poor Matt Sauer out there for 111 pitches because they had no other option. That doesn't mean Dylan Cease didn't have to face Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez. Like, Dylan Cease still ran through that lineup, getting 11 strikeouts on, I think it was 3 or 5 hits in that game. It's not like the Dodgers sent up their AAA lineup to go hit. He still shoved that entire game. And, yeah, they put up 11 runs, but he held the Padres held the Dodgers to 1 run. So they only conceded that game and left him out there because it wasn't close, because Dylan was shoving and they knew they had no chance. So I'm not going to sit here and just say, oh, yeah, they only won that game because –
I'd be more on John's side if the fact they weren't up 11-0 at one point in time in that game. They dominated on both sides. If you're going to give up a win, hey, you deserve to lose. So, I mean, it's either you play the game or you don't. Padres showed up that game. They played well. And you know what?
on the mound in the 6th inning.
And what Jake said earlier, I mean, like, he was talking about all the bases that the Padres left loaded in that third game. In that second game of the series, The Padres came out there. It doesn't matter who you pitch. They're all MLB pitchers. If you toss them out there, what are you going to do? The Padres aren't going to say mercy and not go hit the ball. They hit the ball, and their whole entire top part of the lineup hit the ball, got on base, kept bringing in runs over and over and over again. It was one of the better times I've seen them batting, at the top of their lineup all season long, honestly. So, more efforts like that's what they need. Pitching is what pitching is. Whoever you throw out there, you got to go hit the ball.
And I'm not saying Cease didn't pitch well. Obviously, he pitched fantastic. But I'm just saying, man, the Dodgers just kept, what was his name? Soiree?
Matt Sauer.
Sauer was sour. Out there for 110 pitches. But, we'll see what happens as the season continues.
Here is a look at that season that will continue as they peep the schedule and continue the run through the NL West. They'll face the Dodgers for the first time this entire season, which is weird. They just faced the Dodgers for the first time this entire season. And then they head right back up to L.A. for 4 more games. Oh, how the message will change after the 19th of this month, because there'll be a whole new bag of things to either pick apart or we'll be planning the parade. One of the two, because there's never an in-between with the fans and the media of the Padres. After that, it's the Royals back here in San Diego. So the Padres, I've said it since the beginning of June. You just got to get through June without it becoming a complete disaster. Right now, they're 7-6 in the month of June. They're getting through it. They're treading the water we've asked them to tread. Can you continue to get through June at this pace and then get into that softer part of your schedule? You'll be all right. It's the first 3 against the Dodgers, and everyone's ready to just pack it up. It's just weird to me.
It's not packing it up. I just think, coming into the season, we had the expectation that the Dodgers were going to be this almighty team. Now we're here. They've not been this almighty team, some part to injury, some part of it not. The Padres have an opportunity to have the division lead right now. They're 2 games behind.
I don't have anything else to say.
Let's move on to Oakmont, the 121st U.S. Open this week, taking place as we speak. It's the 10th time that Oakmont has been able to host this event, and boy, is this course a beast. If you're one of those sickos that like watching PGA Tour players struggle, this is the tournament to watch. You see all the reasons why. Undulating greens has to be said on air, so I had to say the word undulating greens. Jokes aside, this course is just an absolute beast. You're going to be lucky if 1, 2, 3 under par wins this thing. I mean, it is going to tear these players apart, which I know a lot of people enjoy seeing. Is this the type of golf you guys like to watch?
I like to watch the players, as long as it's a fair challenge. It does get a little bit ridiculous if maybe one guy is under par, and that's when the players would start complaining. But I love seeing a 4-day tournament, and that winning score is 7, 8, 9 under par to win it. And
I'd be impressed if it even gets there, to be honest.
I know. Although today, J.J. Spawn, the day that we're recording this in round 1, J.J. Spawn, the Aztec, shot a 4 under. He was 4 under, I think, on the front 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Went out early in the opening round. It was still a little calm.
Yes. The course found its teeth in the afternoon. But I'll enjoy watching this challenge as the weekend progresses.
Yeah, I think for me, golf is golf, right? I think, what makes it cool is, I don't like it when the final score is the guys are in the minus 18, 19.
Yeah.
They're just hitting birdies every single hole, it feels like. I like the kind of challenge, and I like the adversity these guys have to hit, because what that's going to cause is late round dramatics. And that's what we want to see. We want to see the top golfers go out and perform their best on a very challenging course, trying to make the toughest shots possible to try and keep themselves at the top of the leaderboard. That's what I like to see. And, these guys are very talented. I don't want to see anything easy for these guys. I don't want to see any sort of choke sort of thing like stories that we saw at the Masters. I want to see guys at the top of their game trying to do everything they can possible to get the best scorecard on the board to try and win the U.S. Open. I think it is going to be a very challenging golf course. I think there's a lot of guys. I know Scottie Scheffler is the hands-on favorite to win the whole shebang here, especially with how well he's been playing as of late. But I'm really excited to see how this whole thing plays out. And, if the score ends at, you get -3 after, the end of 4 rounds, so be it. I'm ready to see some good golf.
Yeah, Scottie Scheffler is the favorite in every event the rest of the next 5 years, probably, the way this guy is playing. It's unbelievable. But this course, you mentioned, Karthik, golf is golf. I don't know if this is golf. This this course is something else. Is something else. It's going to be an absolute bear at Oakmont. People are describing it as carnage, everything in between. One of the Aztecs in this field you mentioned, John, is J.J. Spahn, who at the point today when we were recording was leading the U.S. Open at 4 under. Another Aztec in the field would be the maybe more famous one amongst us, Mr. Xander Schauffele, who's just been battling a ton of injury, trying to come back from that. In previous or before this tournament, he talked about that injury he's been going through.
Probably trusting it at first. I've never been hurt before, so I think it was all kind of new, just the mentality. I felt like I was playing at a pretty high level, and then I got hurt, and my expectations of what I knew I could do to where I was were very different, and accepting that was tough. So I think that was sort of the biggest sort of wake-up call for me coming back.
Well, we wish Xander the best going in. I believe he's +2 after round 1 of the U.S. Open. Here's 3 qualifiers you may want to follow this weekend, if they make the weekend. Matt Vaught, he's a 34-year-old dentist from Indiana. Why he'll win? He spent 5 years as a caddy at Oakmont, so he knows the course. Why he won't? He's ranked outside the top 2,000 on the world amateur golf rankings, much less the pro rankings. Justin Hicks, he's a 50-year-old, the oldest qualifier. He shared the first-round lead at Torrey Pines in the 2008 U.S. Open, no longer a full-time touring pro. And then Mason Howell, a 17-year-old, youngest in the field, shot rounds of 63, 63 in final qualifying. He recently attended his junior prom. So based on that information, you two, which one are you picking here to play the best? And I'll tell you how they did in the first round today.
I mean, if I'm being, I don't mean to sound like a bearer of bad news, but because I just listed about how brutal this course is, I can't imagine any one of them doing well. I mean, again, I'm sorry. They're all 10 times the golfer I will ever even dream to be. But I'm just saying, given how this is set up, given that the best golfers in the world are going to struggle this week, I really can't imagine any of them are successful. But I guess I'll go with give me Justin Hicks just because he's been there, done that. That's my if I had to pick out of the 3.
Okay, Karthik.
If they don't miss the cut, they don't get paid, right? And that's probably what's going to happen here. I'm rooting for Mason Howell because I thought his story was really cool about how he made it to the U.S. Open. As for who's going to have the best score out of all these guys after 2 rounds, don't really know, man. I don't have a pick.
Oh
give me the dentist. Give me the dentist. Give me the dentist.
He's going to take the dentist. All right, Jake, you picked Hicks. He had the worst day in round 1, an 84.
Jeez.
Plus 14.
Yeah.
And Vaught, or Vogt, however you pronounce his last name, shot an 82. That's at plus 12. And then the 17-year-old, he shot a 77. He's at plus 7 on the tournament. And getting back to that 17-year-old, defending U.S. Open champ Bryson DeChambeau was asked yesterday, or the day before the tournament started, what advice he would give to 17-year-old Bryson.
You have to be ready. You have to be unafraid. You can't be scared of missing it offline. You have to be fearless in a sense. So I would say a few things are patience, continue to learn, be open-minded, learn from players that know would have worked before you've come around, and also just be grateful. Like, I think that's one thing. Yeah, I was so focused when I was 17 on being the best player I could be. I lost sight of how cool it was to be traveling the country at that time and playing golf. And, I lost a little bit of that. So I would say be grateful as well, especially being in the U.S. Open at that young of an age.
Another great soundbite from an athlete there. He's realizing don't take things for granted. Enjoy what you're doing while you're trying to become the best at what you do. So that was some pretty good words there from Bryson DeChambeau.
And I think Bryson was 3 over through the first round or somewhere around there. So the 17-year-old's only 4 shots back of the defending U.S. Open champ right there. So it's pretty nice for Bryson to say those words. But it's going to be carnage. Let's move on to SDFC as they played a friendly this past weekend against Club America. And a lot of players missing on both sides, but things went well for SDFC. A 3-0 win in the friendly, and they are getting set to return to MLS action this weekend when they take on Minnesota, which will be close. We'll get to that in just a second. But your guys' thoughts? I know it's a friendly. I know there's players missing, but always nice to go out there and perform well, yeah?
I think what matters to me when you see games like this and you're playing in a friendly exhibition where a lot of your key players are not playing either due to international call-ups or in Chucky Lozano's case because of the hamstring injury, depth. Hey, man, if you go in 3-0 in a friendly with all your backups, that means your depth's pretty good, huh? And how about Milan Iloski, the guy from Escondido? He scored 2 goals. And Tomas Angel, who we've seen be pivotal in some games coming off the bench for SDFC this season. He scored a goal as well.
And a sick flip.
Yeah, and the sick flip, man. That's better than I could ever do, that's for sure. Even on a trampoline. But, I just think that for them, that's what it shows. I mean, the team that they played is one of the best ever in, America's history, even world history as far as club success goes with all the titles that they won. And, they're still going to have some depth on their team as well. But to go out and show out with a 3-0 win, pretty impressive from the depth of San Diego FC.
Well, and I think the friendly last weekend was friendly by the schedulers because when you lose 7 guys off your roster because of international play or injury, it's nice that you're not playing a league matchup. That's going to change this weekend, obviously. But as we continue to learn about soccer and the goings-on of a major league team, can you imagine 7 guys from the Padres being sent overseas to represent their international clubs, yet they still have to play Major League Baseball games? It's a unique thing, and it's going to show the depth of the team. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what San Diego Football Club does as they get back into Major League Soccer games coming up.
And here is that upcoming match against Minnesota. That will be on the 14th. In Minnesota at 5:30. John's just shaking his head. He's very fired up about his graphics, man. I just want to keep talking because this guy has to bite his tongue, so the more I speak, he can't talk. All right, go, John. You look like you're going to jump out your chair.
All right, so when we build a graphic here, soccer puts the home team on the left.
He's on this again.
But American fans, American sports broadcasters, excuse me, European football, American sports puts the home team on the right. So it would read, like this would read if it was an American sport, Minnesota at San Diego. But that's why I put the words will host at the top. So it reads Minnesota will host San Diego. As soccer's goofing us all up here in America, they don't call it a field, they call it a pitch. They don't call it practice, they call it training. They don't put the home team on the right, they put the home team on the left. So that's a self-explanatory graphic for you.
I can't take it anymore. 2 weeks in a row, I can't take it anymore.
I'm wondering about the Wave. Are they playing home or away?
Why don't we look at the San Diego Wave?
I just give you a hard time, John. I always appreciate your rants, my guy. You keep it going.
Oh, look who's going to host.
Houston's going to host.
Will host San Diego, in case you're wondering, on June 13th at 5 p.m. San Diego Wave had their 6-match unbeaten streak sadly snapped here in San Diego against the Seattle Reign. We've talked over and over about how successful the season has been for the Wave. A 1-goal loss to a Seattle team's not the end of the world. I think they'll pick up right where they left off there. But the graphics, John, is it's perfect. It's perfect.
Thank you.
I don't know.
I worked hard on those.
I don't know what else to say, Karthik.
How about the records underneath their logos there?
How about we talk about the San Diego Wave for just a quick second here? They've been having a great year. They go on a streak where they went 6 undefeated matches, 5 wins, 1 loss before that loss to the Seattle Reign. Still one of the top teams in the NWSL. I think this is, one of those teams that has a lot of young talent, a lot of good players on their team. They've been scoring the ball. They also have had to, deal with some players going up to international play. I think they're going to be all right, and I think they'll continue to be at the top of the table. They've been playing some pretty good soccer lately. It's going to be when they start playing those top teams at the top of the standings, how are they going to look? That's going to be the real big question.
They're in a lot better place than the United States men's national team is right now.
When you lose 4-0 to Switzerland, that is not right.
Which honestly needs a whole show of its own to talk about what a disaster they're in right now. As, by the way, we're less than a year away from the World Cup coming up, and this team is in, as Karthik would love to say, shambles. The United States men's national team is in shambles. Landon Donovan calling people out. You're losing 4-0 to the Swiss. I mean, it's a wreck. We'll have to get to that at another time as the World Cup creeps in closer. For the time being, we're in the middle of the NBA Finals. Look at this graphic. Woo! That's what we call a stinger, folks. The Pacers win Game 3, the pivotal Game 3, as the cliche goes. But it's not just a cliche. You look at history. Teams that win Game 3 in a 1-1 series tie tie going to win. I think like 80% of the time the Pacers did get that victory at home. The first time Indiana had hosted an NBA Finals game since like the year 13-14. So it was awesome for Indiana. In 49 states, it's just basketball. In Indiana, man, what a atmosphere that was. And the Pacers delivered. They came out and they played huge. Benedict Mathurin, what a game he had. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me, and then I'm going to let you guys go, though. Going into this, I knew the Pacers' offense was unbelievable. They've proven that. I feel like the Pacers' defense has been wildly underrated, and they have really shown up in these NBA Finals. These games have been completely frantic, running the floor like crazy. Two young teams that just do not stop.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I picked the Pacers to win this in 7 the last time we did this is because the Pacers are a great basketball team. On offense, they get it done. You mentioned Mathurin. How about T.J. McConnell last night? All those steals that he just got off inbound passes, creating those extra buckets. This team fights hard, and I thought that was my big thing. As we got to the fourth quarter, you saw how tired the Thunder were in that game, and that's what the Pacers have been doing to teams all season long. And in the postseason, man, when the time comes down, they run full court on you all game, and then they get offensive rebounds on you late. They get those extra possessions late, and they create these momentum plays that just give them so much confidence to close games out. There's not been a better team in the postseason so far at closing games out than the Indiana Pacers. They did it again after doing it in Game 1. That's why they're up 2-1 in this series, and that's why I remain the Pacers will win the NBA Finals.
Well, if you're going to say the Pacers, all just for the sake of better TV, say it's not going to happen. You're fooled. Think that.
It's 2-1, Johnny boy.
It's the Oklahoma City Thunder that's going to win this game because of their vaulted defense. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Oklahoma City with SGA leading the way. SGA is going to be the first guy to win the scoring title and the NBA title in the first year since Shaq did it some 2.5 decades ago. So mark my words, Jake, you can recue this tape next week when we do the shows. OKC.
Didn't you already pick OKC in like 4 or 5 or something last week, John?
I'll keep an eye on both
Recue
of these
that
things
tape.
here, guys. We got a 50-50 shot. One of you two will be right, so we'll be able to enjoy that when we return to it. On the ice, it is the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers won Game 1 in overtime, and they were so close to having a 2-0 lead in this series when Game 2 went to double overtime. And then all of a sudden, those Florida Panthers showed up, and they kind of punched the Oilers right in the mouth. They now lead this series 2-1. I've been feeling good about Edmonton the whole way through this postseason, and then getting into the finals, I go, oh, yeah, this is Edmonton's year. And now kind of those doubts are creeping back into the Oilers, and they're believers in the Oilers, and the things we've seen so many times before where they can't quite finish. And now I think people are a little worried for the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, I think part of the reason that's happening is because of the experience of the Florida Panthers. They're in the finals for the 3rd straight year. A lot of teams would have collapsed in that first game or after that first game, losing at that type. But Florida, they're looking for back-to-back titles. I think they're going to get it. Being in the finals 3 consecutive years, they've got the experience to know just because you lose Game 1, as close as you were to winning it, doesn't mean anything. And now they're up 2-1.
Panthers starting to looking like they're building a dynasty. You know what? Yeah. I think what's kind of impressed me about the Panthers is, honestly, they went to Edmonton, and, you know, that first game was a really tight one of which the Oilers were able to come out and win by the skin of their teeth. In the second game, you know, we also had a double overtime game. This one double overtime, the first one overtime. And then the Panthers were able to pull it off. But what impressed me most about it, and my big takeaway when that series was in Edmonton, was that the Panthers really played some competitive games on the road and almost came out with both of them. They got one of them. It's always great to steal a game on the road. Then they came home, and I was like, okay, well, this one will kind of really tell me a lot because I'm not the biggest hockey guy. But when you come out and win, 6-1 was the final score of that game, that kind of makes me feel like, okay, well, the Panthers are really set to take care of business at home, and they can give a lot of trouble to the Oilers on the road. That spells disaster for any opposing team in a series. I think the Panthers are probably going to come out with this one based off of what I've seen so far through 3 games.
And they have that home game tonight as we record Thursday. They play. If the Panthers go up 3-1, it's, I mean, they went up 3-0 last year between these two teams in the finals, and Edmonton forced that Game 7 before the Panthers hoisted the cup. But if they go up 3-1, given the momentum and everything, you really start to feel that this could be the end for Edmonton. All of a sudden, though, if the Oilers can steal one in Florida, Who knows? Then you go back to Edmonton series tied and everyone's feeling good again. The beauty of 7-game series, right? And you never know in the NHL. We'll be back next week to talk about how that series is going, along with everything that we always do. The San Diego Padres, the NBA Finals, will have your U.S. Open champion, and so much more when we come back next week here on CBS 8 Plus. And you two, go ahead, send them off.
I don't know what I'm going to say this week. I didn't really prepare anything, so.
Padres will win 3 of 4 in L.A. next week.
Oh.
Wait, you signed off last time with us saying they were going to sweep the Dodgers. Can you say, for the sake of the Padres, can you say they're going to get swept by the Dodgers? Let's use this reverse psychology.
Padres stink. They're going 0-4.
I got you. Hey, how about this? Coco Gauff won the French Open, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, that was good.
I just saved all you Padres fans. You're welcome.